Hello and welcome to SketchUp. In this tutorial, we're going to do a quick little skill builder. We're going to build a spring. And I want you to watch very carefully as to how we do some of these things, because I think this will point out some interesting little features and tricks and things to be aware of when you're making complex, organic shapes that have curves and smooth surfaces to them. So we'll start by erasing our starting person. And next we're going to start with a circle. So grab the circle tool, and we're going to do this at a fairly large scale. So start at the origin and then draw out along one of the axes. I'm going to use the green axis as my point of reference for this. I'm going to make it 12 inches. So 12-inch circle. So you'll notice if we click on this and then select Entity Info, or if you select the circle itself, you'll see it has 24 segments, which means that the each one of these quadrants is going to be 6 segments. So that means that the actual line segments are actually going to be on the axes. So we'll start on the axis. It keeps everything nice and neat is really what it does. So we have 24 segments. We want to keep that in mind as we do some of these measurements or some of these additions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here and draw up in the blue axis, a little bit. I'm not going to be too picky about how high I want to go, because you'll see in a little bit. So we'll draw up, and then we'll come back down to this point. What we really want is this diagonal line right here, because that's going to be the starting point for our spring. We'll get rid of this vertical one. So all we want is this diagonal line here. So basically what it is it's a diagonal line coming from this point right here and going straight up, so that this point is directly above the next intersection. Because remember, a circle isn't really a circle. It's 24 line segments that are connected together. You can't really make a true circle in an online setting like this. It's always going to be line set or on a computer. So now we're going to take this and make sure this guy's selected, and we're going to grab the rotate tool. And this is kind of a fun little trick, because you can move copy using the rotate tool just as well as you can move copy using the move tool. So we'll click on the origin, because we want to rotate about the origin, and we'll come out along the green axis and then click again, and then you'll notice that I am now rotating this line. Now it's kind of deforming the line right now, but if I hit Control, which is our copy tool, then you'll notice that now it's just made a duplicate and it's kind of moving around the circle. And so let's just go to the next endpoint. Now, to make it go all the way around the circle, we go 23x, enter. You do 23 because we already had the first one. So we do one rotate copy and then 23 more. And then, so now I have all of these diagonal line segments. Now I'm going to show you a little trick here, because we want to select just these diagonal lines and not the circle. We still need the circle, but we don't want to select it. So when you are selecting geometry, when you go right to left, it will only select the things that are completely within the box. If you do a move select, notice how if I pull from right to left to right, it's a solid box. If I pull from right to left, it's a dotted box. That means that anything that is a little bit inside of the box will be selected. So that way I can select just the geometry that is these diagonal lines and not the circle underneath them. So it's a little trick. Left and right, or left to right select, or right to left select does slightly different behavior. Now we'll just grab our move tool, and we'll grab it right on the green axis right here, and we'll start moving push the up key to lock it to the vertical axis, and then hit Control to do a move copy, and then we'll infer to this point right here. And now, since remember we have 24 line segments, we're going to do this again. We're going to go 23x, enter. So that means that each one of these spirals that's going up now is one full revolution. It has 24 segments, so it'll come all the way around the circle. And we can see that if we go in, let's go zoom in really carefully on where the line segment intersects the green axis, and we'll erase this line and this line to isolate that spiral. and then if you triple click on it, it'll select everything that's actually still connected to it, and you'll see that that spiral comes all the way up, and then here, this point is directly above the green axis there. So let's right click that and make it a group temporarily so that we can quickly erase everything that we don't need, because all we want is that one spiral. So we'll select everything, then hold down the Shift key and deselect our grouped spiral, and then just hit the delete key on your keyboard, and it'll delete everything else. So then we have our one complete spiral, one complete revolution. Let's explode this because we don't actually need it. We don't actually need it grouped anymore. So we'll select the whole thing, and then in the move tool, we'll grab the scale tool, and we'll smush this because springs are a little bit tighter coiled. We probably could have done this from the start, but I think that it's better to do it later. It makes it a little bit easier. We'll make it. We're not going to be super precise about this because we're not engineers here, or at least I'm not. And then we'll take this. We'll grab our move tool, and we will move copy up in the vertical axis. Hit Control to copy, and then we'll connect it up right here. And we'll do, say, 10 times. We'll do 9 times. So there's 10 total. 10 revolutions of spring. So there's our spring, totally complete. Let's give it some three-dimensionality, because right now it's just line segments. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this, and I'm going to do it in 2 different ways. But before we do, let's do something kind of fun. Let's make this look more like a real spring by selecting just the bottom part, grabbing the scale tool, and then pulling it up just a little bit to kind of compress the very ends, like they do, like you see in the, a real scale. Spring, I mean. So then we'll do that. We'll grab our scale tool, and we'll smush that down just a little bit, just to make it look a little bit more, like an actual spring. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to create the three-dimensionality. So this is going to take we're going to use the Follow Me tool. Now there's a right way to do this and a wrong way to do this, and I'm going to show you the wrong way first. I'm going to grab my circle tool and then try to get it so that the reference circle is red like this, so that I know that it's going to be perpendicular to my line. And I'll go 1-inch radius. Now we'll triple click our spring. We'll hit the Follow Me tool, and then we'll click on this. And your whole thing is going to freeze up for a little bit because it's going to have to calculate this thing. And it takes a couple seconds. But you'll notice immediately after it's done, it looks kind of cool, but it's not right. It takes a couple seconds. My whole thing is frozen. Ooh, there we go. Aside from the fact that the faces are all inverted, which is easy enough to fix, reverse faces, you see all of these lines here. And you could go through and take the eraser tool and, tediously, laboriously erase them all so that they're gone. But that doesn't even solve the problem, because even if you come at it at an angle, you can see that that ridge is still there. And so we're not going to do that. We're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to move him off to the side a little bit. In the red axis, I'm going to move him off to the side. You can delete it if you want. I'm going to leave it there as a point of comparison. I might as well make it a group, just so that it's. I think it actually is like less expensive if it's thinking of it as a group. So here's what we do before we do our push pull. We triple click our spring, and then we hit Weld Edges down here. So what that's going to do is it's going to make this thing a smooth spiral going all the way up. So doing that one step. Now we create our circle down here again, 1 inch. Doing that one step is going to completely change the way this thing builds. So we'll give it a few seconds. It'll probably say that it's unresponsive again. We'll wait. There it is. And then now notice how it's now smooth. We'll reverse our faces so that it's correct. And then now we've got a spring. A nice organic looking, semi-organic looking thing. All the edges are smooth. It interpolates the shadows so that you don't get those hard edges, and it looks a lot nicer. And you can use this in a model somewhere else. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the next video.